there, Lindsay here, the Frugal Crafter. Today I am going to open up my Smart Art box. This came when I was on vacation, so I'm really excited to see what they have in store for us this month. Okay, so we've got our pamphlet, which is really nice because it gives you a project to work on. And this project is sgraffito painting. I hope I pronounced that right. And it's going to have everything you need to do that technique, which is really kind of cool. And on the back, they always put a step-by-step instruction as well as a project for you to follow along with. And so that's kind of nice because you can do the tutorial that we're going to do today, or you can follow along with this, or both, or whatever you want to do. So in here we have, and I got an email so I kind of know what's in here because I got an email before I got back from vacation that says they have 10% off this kit online. If you didn't get a chance to get it, check it out. You could save some money. So first up we have this engraving art set of tools by Royal and Langnickel, and I'm familiar with these because my kids get those little scratch art kits that come out a couple times a year. They love them. They'll buy them at the craft store and they spend hours on them. But they usually only have one small tool in it, and this actually has 4 different size tips. And let's take a look here. I've never used these fancy ones. I've only used just like that. It's usually what comes in the little kids kits. But there's a really fine sharp one, a more blunt one, you got a more rounded one, and then you've got this one that looks kind of like a, I don't know, like some weapon of mass destruction here that I guess you could scrape off more stuff with, so that's neat. I don't have any of those tools. You have a brush, a set of oil pastels, which are, if you've never used these before, they're just like a creamy crayon. You may have used them in school. They go by the name crayons as well, and these are pretty nice size sticks, so we've got those. We have, what is this wrapped up like a present? We have some black ink. Oh, waterproof, fade-proof, pigment-based drawing ink. So this will come in handy for a lot of other projects other than just what we're going to do today. And wow, we've got clayboard, which is really kind of cool. I have used different types of clayboard before for watercolors, but I have never done this technique on it before, so that's kind of cool. And then there's also kind of a little practice piece, which is nice. So what I'm probably going to do is work on the practice piece myself because I know how much my daughters love to do scratch art, so I'll probably save the bigger pieces for them. So basically what you want to do is you want to begin by coating this with your oil pastel. I think we're going to want a pretty good coating of pastel on here because this is what we want this to stain the board, and it's also going to be, we want it kind of thick so it's easy to scratch off. I don't know how thick of a coating we can get on here though because it's a really smooth surface. It's almost glassy. It's like a really sanded, smooth, ultra smooth surface. So I think I'm gonna do a mandala on this because I've never done a mandala before, and I think a small size like this would be very doable for me. So I think I'm gonna do that. And I'm just starting with like a rosy red in the middle, and then I'm going around it, overlapping it where they meet with some yellow. And basically, I want to make sure I'm going with pretty vibrant colors because I want that contrast of the black, like the black against the bright colors, so that's why I'm keeping it with the lighter colors. I'm afraid that if I use like the black and the purple and like the dark blue that I would end up with way too much. It would be too dark and I wouldn't really see a difference when I scratched it away, so I want to make sure I'm going to have a nice high contrast design here. Maybe we'll go with this light sky blue color. This is pretty cool. I hope it turns out well. I think my daughters would really love doing this. And if they end up doing this, I will post finished photos on my website, The Frugal Crafter, and you can check it out. That's what is kind of fun about this. I think that if you were like a homeschool mom or homeschool dad and you were trying to do their art curriculum, I think this would be a very nice way to do it where it wouldn't be overwhelming. You know, because you'd have an art project coming in every month, and you could do, there's usually enough supplies in your kit because you get full-size supplies to do several different pieces. So, you know, if you did a different art project a week from each box, I think there would be plenty of supplies even if you had a couple of children. You might have to get like extra boards or canvases or something, or watercolor paper or whatnot, but I think it would be a great way to teach art history, because there is, in the pamphlets, they do go into the art history of it, and I think that would be really nice. Or if you know if you're doing classes in your community on a budget, I think this would be a great way to do it. Okay, now it said in the brochure that you can take like the white or cream color to blend them where the colors meet. I'm gonna do a little bit of that. I'm just afraid that, oh, it is blending it good. I just don't want to take away too much of the vibrancy because I really want it to be nice and vibrant. But it does seem like this white one is kind of trapping down my layer, so that might be a good thing. And kind of get as many of those little pieces locked down as I can. I mean, basically you need to have a buffer. If we were to paint that black right on the clayboard, I'm not sure if it would scratch off very well or not. It might because it's got a clay coating on it. I'm not sure. I've only used it a couple times, so I'm not an expert, and it's been a while since I've used it. It's kind of expensive when you buy it on its own, so that's why I haven't used it too much. I'm glad they included it here. Okay, so as you can see, I haven't used that much of the pastel. There'll be plenty to do more projects. I'm going to get my little trash can here and brush off any crumbs just with my fingers. It's always a good idea to wash your hands good after you're done doing art, especially before you eat or drink anything, with no matter what supplies you're using. It's a good idea to remember that because I'm going to have all these crumbs in my hands. This would make a cool... well, you'd have to seal it really good, but it'd be kind of a cool like trivet or coaster or something in this size. Okay, so then what we need to do is cover this with ink. So this is going to be, I mean, these oil pastels are pretty much dry as soon as you put them down. And we're going to open this up. And this is the brush they gave me for the ink. It feels really stiff, so I'm going to rinse it off. Honestly, I think if you're doing this at home without this kit, I would recommend using maybe a softer flat brush so that you don't spread it too thin. I'm afraid this might spread the ink a little thinly. And I've used Higgins ink before. It's pretty good quality. Now I wonder if I can just drop it on there. I'm going to try doing that. Hopefully there's nothing wrong with doing that. I don't think that it will hurt anything. Make sure I don't do too much. And then I'm just going to spread it around. Let me dry off my my brush on a paper towel. I don't want to add any water to the ink. Alright, since this is water-based and we're going over something that's oil-based, they should resist each other. It should coat it, but it shouldn't absorb into it, is what I'm meaning to say. And then we're going to have to let this dry completely before we go on to the next step. And I think, I mean, I've got plenty on here. You don't want it to go too thin. It looks like this brush was just fine. It did not make it streaky. It's covering very well. I don't want to work it too much because I'm afraid that it might... See, it wants to kind of lift if you keep going back over it. So I'm just going to let that dry. And when we come back, I'll let you know how long it took to dry. And we will begin our scratching of a design. Okay, the board is prepared and dry. It takes about a half an hour to dry, and I actually have to be honest, I started with the mandala idea, but it didn't work out so well, so I actually scraped off a bunch of the black, wiped it off with alcohol, and that took off any remaining ink, and then recoated it with the oil pastel and ink and let it dry again. So if that happens to you, you don't have to throw away the board, you can just redo it. And if you make a little mistake, like I did accidentally smudge my ink there, you can always go back in with a small brush and touch it up with the black ink here. So don't worry, if you make a mistake, you can totally fix it. So the thing I noticed on the package of the scrapers was that it has a little, kind of like a little key on the back, and it shows you what each shape makes, which would be kind of handy. So I decided I would leave that out while I was working, and I actually decided I would do a seahorse instead. So I'm going to start with my kind of sketching #1 cutter here, and I would just kind of sketch in a seahorse shape, and I'm just going really lightly, so kind of like how I would sketch with a pen, just in case I make any mistakes. They won't be very obvious, and I can either, like I said, touch it up with a pen, or I can just kind of make a thicker line next to it and do something a little different. So I want to get that tail curled up so that it will fit on the board for the most part. Just get the body shape in here, back up here to the top. Get the little ears. I imagine they're ears, don't you think? And then they've got some little horn type things. And then I want to get the fin on the back. They kind of got these little spikes, which kind of makes them look like a horse a little bit more. And then we've got these little fins that come out right here. Just getting a basic shape there. And let's get the eye in while we're at it. Okay, so I heard that this tool here, I see there's circles there. I think you can actually whoops. I think you can maybe just twirl it like that to get circles. I'm not exactly sure how that one's going to be used, but I do need a lot of little dots here, so I think this might be a good way to dot the seahorse face. And I'm sure for me this will just be a lot of getting used to the materials because I am not that familiar with using scratch art. One thing I will tell you is that these boards scrape a lot easier than if you were using, say, like the commercially made ones. At least any of the scratch art stuff that I've ever purchased, I buy it every once in a while for the kids. Oh, I find pulling this towards me, kind of like dragging it towards me with the scoop side down, that seems to work really good for the dots for me, so I can kind of get a bunch of those quickly like that. So this stuff scratches really easily, which I think would be nice for small children because you wouldn't have to worry about them gouging themselves trying to scrape too hard. I'm using this wider scraper to do the lines on the tummy. I can remove a lot more at once and I can get those wider lines. And just like if I was painting, I turn the board to make it a little bit easier to handle. Now I do notice it's very light here along the belly edge and going down the tail, so again I'm going to keep turning. I have this paper towel underneath to catch any dust as I'm scraping in case, just so I don't end up with a mess of just like ink shavings everywhere. One thing I noticed that, and I noticed it in my failed attempt too, that the colors are much lighter when you scrape them off. Like some colors stain really well, like that red and the orange, but other colors like the green and the yellows, they almost scrape back to next to nothing. So I think that that I would actually use darker colors. I was worried that I wouldn't have the contrast if I used darker colors. But now I'm thinking that they'd probably stain the clayboard a lot better, and I would have much more, a much prettier color underneath. I mean, it's pretty with the white and all, but I think I would really like it to have a little bit more, color. I want to try this tool here. This is the number 2 cutter. It's a little bit wider, so I thought that it might give me a little bit, yeah, it gives me a nice wider. But I still feel like I'm kind of holding a pen, so it's kind of handy that way. My seahorse is going to have eyelashes. What do you think about that? Now something else you could do, say you scrape too far back. You could always go in with like inks on a fine tip brush, and you could go in and add more color. Not like, I would probably use like a watercolor ink and just kind of go on top of it and then see what I got that way. But that way, or alcohol ink. But you have to be careful with the alcohol ink because that might smudge your black ink on top. But you could go in with a watercolor ink, and I think it would still stick to the clayboard enough that it would work out all right for you. I really like seeing that red underneath, so I like scraping back to that. And the fins almost have like, almost on those like little ridges. And I'm a very sketchy drawer, so I I'm also sketching like that. Want to make the tails and everything seem round, so I'm just kind of curving my strokes as I go. Oh yeah, we should have some kind of little spikes off of here too. Just a little bit. And then I'm going to tap it. See that dust there? That's why I have that paper towel there. And there we have a little seahorse. I think I'm going to put some like seaweeds in here. So let's do some seaweed. I wonder, you know what would be kind of cool? I wonder if I could scrape it back and add some more oil pastel to it. We'll try that. Let's do that. Let's scrape off what we want and then go back in with some oil pastel. I don't know if that'll work or not. Hopefully it won't damage our ink coating, but we can always go back in with the ink you know, with a paintbrush if we need to. Now what I think I'll do is try to remove a fairly large amount on the outside of the seahorse, and so I still have a little bit of contrast there. I think my lines will give me contrast. If I have the seaweed lines going vertically and those lines on the seahorse horizontal, I think I'll be alright. And then maybe let's do a couple bubbles. I'm going to do that with this just because I think I can probably get a better bubble shape. I don't know what these bubbles would be coming from because they're certainly not coming from the seahorse. They're from the wrong side. Unless he tooted. Got toot bubbles going on there. Oh, you can't take me anywhere. Alright, so there's our little composition. So I really want to see if I can add some greens in here. Oh yeah, if you use a very gentle touch, you can. So that's kind of fun. And that's what I like about these boxes. You know, experiment with them. Enjoy the process. It is so much more about the process than it is the product. That's why I think these are such great kits for like homeschoolers, because you can really accentuate the process. And I want to add a little bit of this yellow back into the seahorse tail too. Oh, this is kind of fun. I'm going to try not to go too overboard because I don't want to just cover up everything that I just did. Oops. I did go a little bit too much up there. Probably a pen like with a little ink on it would have been a better choice there. But I think this is fairly transparent. The red will be more transparent, I think, because it's because generally reds are more transparent. Let's see if I can sneak some of that in there because I really like that. I think it's nice. Oh, this is a fun one. Now, I didn't think I was going to really enjoy doing scratch art because it always struck me as something that was very kind of persnickety, and I am just kind of like a have fun, go with it, wild and free type person, so I didn't know if I would like that, and actually I really liked it. Now I want to show you, it would be kind of fun. First, let's add a little of this like sky blue, which probably is a little opaque, which I think might be kind of fun to our bubbles. Just cause. But I wanted to show you how to touch up your mistakes, okay? So like right there where I had touched it before it's completely dry, I'm going to take just a little smidge of that ink. And honestly, I would use a smaller, softer brush, but this is what came in the kit, so this is what I'm going to use. And I'm just going to touch that up right there. Of course, if you had to touch up something really tiny in your design, you would want to use a tiny brush. Probably not a pen, just because I think you could probably use a Sharpie marker too, especially if you were completely done. But there you go. This was a super fun project. I really encourage you to give this a try. You could of course make your own scratch art boards at home, but if you want to get the supplies that I used, check out smartartbox.com. They have these boxes available at a 10% discount if you want to order last month's box, or if you want to subscribe and have a surprise sent to you every month. That's a lot of fun. I find myself looking forward to this more and more every month. And they ship to many countries now, so that was one thing I got asked so many times. When are they going to start shipping to the UK? When are they going to start shipping to Canada? When are they going to ship here? When are they going to ship there? Check out their website. There's a list of all the countries that they ship to, and it's growing every month, which is really nice. I want to thank you guys so much for watching. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments section below, and I will see you next time. Thanks for watching. Happy crafting.